And boy, we saw from some of that live action as we map out to East Rutherford, New Jersey right now, Kim. It was pretty intense out there, and this is kind of what Giants coaches, from what you made it sound like, were expecting, a real physical day.
Yeah, Ben McAdoo got what he wanted out of today, which, as he described, was some hitting, some real physical play, and a lot of reps for guys who he says need them at this point in training camp, which, of course, is pretty obvious. We literally just finished up with Giants practice and then media availability. You take a look there, Odell Beckham Jr., he might have had the play of the day very early in team drills. Janoris Jenkins bid on a double move, and Beckham was gone for an 80-yard touchdown. We also saw Jason Pierre-Paul with a fumble recovery that he ran out to the end zone. He was asked by a reporter, you probably didn't have to run that out. JPP said, it was a touchdown. I'm going to finish that one in the end zone. Jason Pierre-Paul clearly looks very good. I just talked to him, guys, and I said, how am I supposed to quantify how lean you are? He said, I'm leaner than I've ever been. He tells me he weighs 270, but after a practice like that one, he said it's probably 265.
Lost a couple of pounds. I can understand that, sitting out here in Houston the last 4 hours. You mentioned Odell Beckham, Kim, and would we call him a full participant in practice today?
Yeah, we would. He sat out one drill, and when you ask McAdoo those questions, he's kind of cagey with his answer, but clearly with Odell, as I continue to say, they have to keep him from just going all out and expending so much of his energy before practice is over. So Odell Beckham Jr. looked good. Victor Cruz we saw on the field. I will tell you about Cruz, guys. I'm getting the feeling the Giants are ready to see Cruz really let it go. We heard Eli Manning say very interestingly a couple days ago that he wants Victor to continue to gain confidence in his health and in his ability. And you get the feeling that while Cruz is out there you see the passing between Beckham and Cruz during special teams drills. But Victor Cruz running the routes, catching the balls, he's doing his job. But just that little extra gear so far the Giants haven't seen, and they really would like to see that from Victor Cruz.
Boy, a welcome sight indeed. Last time on the field in real game action, October of 2014. Right. And, you know, in watching some of the practice earlier today, Kim, looked like those DBs were having themselves quite a time out there. It got pretty intense. They were pretty fired up after every play they were making. Were there some that stood out today?
Well, they made a lot of them. I think you're right on target there, Rhett. And Ben McAdoo agreed with a reporter who asked him if this was Eli Apple's best practice. You saw Apple, you know, the physical play at the line, but then not the grabbing that the Giants have tried to essentially coach him out of because it's going to result in a penalty. And the one thing McAdoo said about Apple, the first-round draft pick, he had a holding penalty very early in this practice. There were officials here, but then not another penalty the rest of the way. And they are taking that as a positive sign. I'll tell you what we saw. We saw Apple outside a lot at left corner. We saw new Giant Leon Hall a lot in the slot. We're going to see that. On the other outside corner, we saw Janoris Jenkins. We also saw Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie play both inside and outside. So the real personnel at cornerback starting to shake out. I think Eli Apple probably has as many reps with the first team as he's had all of practice today.
That's obviously a good problem to have. You can't have too many corners, so don't worry about who's going to play. You got four corners. It'll work itself out, especially with injuries. Damon Harrison, Snacks from the New York Jets, biggest nose tackle next to this side at Vince Wilfork. Okay, going to play him a defensive tackle. Can you give us kind of an update on how he's doing converting to a defensive tackle and what he means to the Giants?
He looks good, and Charlie, I'll tell you what Justin Pugh, the left guard, told me about Snacks a couple days ago. He said he's unmovable, a brick wall. And that's exactly what the Giants want Snacks Harrison to be. He and Jonathan Hankins are about 680 pounds of man in the middle of this D-line. And JPP just told us that defensive line still getting down the chemistry, still getting down the communication, but clearly the Giants are encouraged what they have seen so far from this defensive line, especially compared to where they were a year ago, when none of these guys, except for Hankins, were available to them, and the Giants finished the season with just 23 sacks.
All right, Kim, day 8 there, Giants training camp, and kind of starting to get a look at what this team is going to put together here for 2016. Has there been much talk about expectations from that group as they try to get back to the top of the division?
To be better they're coming off back-to-back 6-win seasons, Rhett. They've had 3.5 seasons, as the owner, John Mara, will remind you, of football that's been hard to watch and unsuccessful in terms of results. So they are really trying to be a better team, a team that Ben McAdoo told us. I mentioned to him the idea that we talked, Rhett, players counseling other players, Beckham with Apple, Jason Pierre-Paul with Bobby Hart during drills, and McAdoo said, we've been talking about toughness, physicality, doing it together, we're one family. So if I were to characterize to you the theme here, it's not yet about wins and losses, it's more about those kind of united front characteristics that they believe will end up making them a better football team.
You know, when I look at the Giants, Rhett and Kim, first of all, I see a team that's going to be there in December contending for this division. I think they're the best team in the division on paper for a couple of reasons. You have a division that's strong on the offensive side of the ball. The Giants were 6th in scoring. The Redskins 10th. The Eagles were 13th. And the Cowboys we can't count because Romo didn't play. You put Romo and Ezekiel Elliott in there, they should have a top 10 offense. The defenses in this division are not real strong. I think the Giants have the best defense in the division with all of the players they brought in. Now, it's going to take some time for this thing to gel, but experienced defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, I think he'll get it done. Oh, and by the way, they got the best quarterback in the division, in my opinion, too. In a division that's got 4 good quarterbacks.
All right, our Kim Jones joining us live in East Rutherford, New Jersey, with a report there on the Giants. Kim, thanks very much for your insights today. It was fun hanging out at practice with you as well.